Hey everyone, it's Carter King. If you're an educator, a leader, or just a parent who wants to teach kids about space, check out my newest book, Carter's Journey Through Space. It's available now on Amazon, Target, and bookstores everywhere. Come explore the universe with me.
Welcome to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle King, and the goal of this podcast is simple: to help you create environments where people thrive. Through real conversations, practical strategies, and powerful stories, we equip leaders, educators, and change makers just like yourself to build cultures rooted in purpose, performance, and authenticity. Because culture isn't something you talk about, it's something you live. This is the Contagious Culture Podcast. Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. The goal of this podcast is to help you create ecosystems and environments where people thrive. Look, I'm your host, Kyle King, and today joining me, we have somebody that is doing phenomenal work. Before we actually started recording, we did a geography exercise, and I absolutely butchered where I thought she was from, but she's going to be talking to us today, and she is absolutely amazing, doing phenomenal, impactful work. Irina Cozma, an organizational psychologist, executive and professional coach, speaker, and contributor to Harvard Business Review, with more than 20 years, literally 20 years of experience across consulting, technology, finance. She has coached hundreds of professionals, from startup founders to Fortune 100 leaders, helping them expand their options, strengthen their confidence, and become ultimately better at who they are and what they do. Irina, how you doing?
Thank you so much for the invite. I'm already having so much fun. So thank you for inviting me.
Definitely. So how is your work? How's your day going? Your week going? Catch me up.
Yeah, all good. I'm doing what I love to do. I'm one of those people who discovered early in life that people is my happy place. So I maximize the amount of time I spend in interacting with people. And the way I interact with people these days is through coaching mainly. So have a lot of clients, a lot of fun, a lot of people getting better every day at who they are and what they do. And it's amazing to see that firsthand.
No, I love that. And I think a lot of times we jump in and we talk about all the exciting things that's happening in the work world. But what got you to this work? You know, you were born in Eastern Europe, and now you've only been in the Charlotte region for about 9 years or so, similar to me. Can you walk me through the journey of what even introduced you to this work, to being able to coach, and what got you to this place of leadership?
Yeah, I think one of the, I don't know if it's lucky or not, because there is no one way of doing life. Every way of doing life, it's a right way of doing life. But in my case, I discovered early in life what I like to do. I'm a reader, so I read all my adolescence. That's what I did. I also play volleyball. That's another story for another time. But when I was not playing volleyball, I was reading. And I think reading got me this idea that I can marginally understand other people's lives beside mine, because for better or for worse, we are living just our lives. And I was always curious, what's happening with other people's life? I want to learn about other people. So books gave me access to that, like other stories, other lives, other thinking. So I realized early that people is interesting to me. And I'm not so much into nature, into pets, other things, nothing wrong with them. But for me, people, give me people, there is entire lifetime that I can entertain myself with people. So I discovered that there is this thing called psychology. I did not know like what, if I want to work with people. Now, in retrospect, any job works with people. But if you want to go deeper, psychology is the one that it's literally just about the people. And I also realized at one point, I know shocking news probably for all of you listening this, but I realized pretty late in life that we are going to wake up every day of our lives and go work. It really blew my mind. I couldn't believe it when I realized it. I realized it again pretty late because I was pretty naive and in my books, in my world. And I'm like, ooh, you need a job and you need to go every day, every morning. And it shocked me even more the fact that people were waking up every day and doing a work they did not enjoy doing. That really broke my heart. I'm like, unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable for you to go through life doing something every day without having any satisfaction, pleasure, joy. And that's how I discovered organizational psychology,
That's
which was
good.
this idea that how do we help people in a workplace so they can wake up in the morning without a stomach pain and with more tools, resources, idea, perspectives to embark in their professional lives with a little more ease and flexibility. So that became fundamentally interesting to me. Organizational psychology. I did 2 masters before coming to US in that field. I came to US 20 years ago to do my PhD in organizational psychology. And then I worked for 10 years in consulting and talent management consulting, doing a lot of works on the hiring side, on the learning and development side. Then keep moving, working at Salesforce, working at Wells Fargo. So lots of breadth, a lot of different industries. But the common denominator is the same. It's a human who wakes up in the morning. So for me, that's interesting to me. If I can do something for that human to wake up in the morning with a little more ease, that's what I want to do. So that's I stumbled upon coaching at one point along the way, and I zoomed into this pleasure point for me. Like it's my happy place.
One of the things that I appreciate that you mentioned early in the conversation is that you, similar to me, weren't really interested in all of these other things, but people. And I absolutely love people. I love learning how they think and how they process information and navigating conversations and building relationships. That's like my jam, especially organizational culture and leadership and the psychology between what drives teams to being more productive or what's leading teams to not being more productive. Like we can have conversations about this like all day. But another piece that you mentioned is that books, like you read a lot. I mean, you read a lot, and it really began to expose you to a lot of the work that you're even doing today. And I was a huge reader back in the day, and it led me to writing my own first books. And like I love learning. Like I'm an avid learner. So just for our audience purposes, what is one book that you believe has really transformed how you view the work that you do, or was really the catalyst to the work that you do today?
Oh, why are you asking so hard questions? I did not know that this is hard questions type of podcast. Hard to say, but I will maybe freestyle a little. I cannot give you one, but let me start by saying a category of books that really shaped the way I think later, like in the last 5 years or so. Yeah. And those are books written by scientists, books written by neuroscientists and medical doctors that talk about how the brain and how the body works. So lately, that's my favorite type of books to read. Only about, I need to understand how this brain works, because once you understand that, everything else becomes easier. So that's an entire category, and I would recommend to anybody to go and just go on YouTube and just search neuroscientist podcasts and watch people who are actually not people, and now I don't want to sound like condescending, but not people who did a certification in neuroscience, because they will learn something. I mean, I can do a certification, or I will learn something, I'm sure, but it's different when you talk with somebody who is doing deep research with the brain, and this is their life. So much more than we can learn from them. And I will just throw one name for now. I think the most famous person these days in this field is Lisa Feldman Barrett. She is the neuroscientist. She has a couple of books, not too many. I know she's writing another one, so I can hardly wait for her to publish her upcoming book. But
the book, How Emotions Are Made, is powerful. So I definitely, I love her work. She's amazing. Yeah. I was initially introduced to her by Stephen Bartlett. She spoke on his podcast. Just phenomenal.
Yes. And she has a gift to explaining things simple that you feel like, oh, got it, I understand this. I'm a neuroscientist too now, So very, very nice how she talks about things. And I don't know, like for me, it took me, first time when I heard her talking, I was like, ooh, this makes so much sense. I couldn't tell you one thing from what she said, but while I was listening to her, it made so much
Yeah.
sense to me. It took me a lot of repetition. So I watch a lot of podcasts with her. So now I know podcast interviews. Now I kind of, she's kind of says the same things all the time because there is no other thing to say than the thing that she knows, so which is
Exactly.
amazing, that consistency. So once you listen to her a couple of times, you can actually not just on the surface understand what she's saying, but you can actually assimilate and be able to maybe say to somebody else, teach somebody else. So it's so interesting how this neuroscience, for better or for worse, it advances pretty slow. Like they're just still discovering things. It's a very new science overall. So it's not like every day it's a new thing that you need to rethink what you thought yesterday, but still it's like I would recommend to anybody to, if you listen to her once and you feel like makes sense, listen to her a couple of times and then you'll really understand what she's saying.
I love that. And, one of the things that I love about your work is that you talk about how millions of people wake up dreading their workday. And at one point in my career, I was one of those millions of people. Why do you think so many professionals, especially nowadays where opportunities are endless, feel so stuck in what they're doing?
Yeah, I think the words I hear the most from my prospects are lost and stuck. So these are the words. Some kind of interesting fact that probably everybody can recognize themselves in here. When you go to school, we have lessons, we have exams, we have a curriculum. Everybody tells you what to do, how to do it, when to do it, what to learn. This is a booklet, this is a textbook. You have very structured learning. And I don't know what happens with human beings, but once we finish school, we don't know how to do that by ourselves. So we are kind of freestyling and like just going with the flow until we get stuck. Some of us might learn how to swim. Some of us might not. And we get stuck and we are like realizing that we are not moving anywhere. So I think this, and what you're saying, or like you're a learner, you're like to learn, that's the thing. How do we get learning into our brains on ongoing basis? Because if you do that, there will always be something that you will see. There is always a possibility that you can create for yourself. But if you just go by your days, week after week, month after month, year after year, decades after decades, and one day you just wake up and you're like, oops, what's happening here? This is not what I wanted. You already have so many years when you didn't proactively build something, learn something, thought about something. I can give myself as an example. I remember at one point in my career, I don't even know how I wake up in one day, but I wake up metaphorically one day, realizing that years went by and I never thought, I just did. I did more, better, faster, but I never stopped to think. And I got pretty scared. I'm like, oh, how did I went through life so far without thinking? Imagine if I start thinking, what much more I can do. But it happens to everybody. We get carried away. And then you're like, oh, now what? So that's one thing, how the stuck happens. Do you want me to give you a couple of ideas on how to unstuck?
I would love that.
I knew that you are going there, so I want to make your job easier. Again, it's hard to put categories, but if we have to categorize a couple of things that people can do, that they find themselves in the situation. I'm waking up, I'm dreading the day ahead, I'm dreading my work day. This is not interesting, this is not fun, this is not pleasurable. One thing is for them to actually want to do something, because I know people who do this, they wake up again and again unsatisfied, but they decided that they are not going to do anything, and that's fine. Decide it, make peace with that, but you need to make peace with that. You cannot just be frustrated by it and do nothing about it. But there are a couple of things that you can grab, like, well, how can you explore what's happening here? And the first one that I think many times people miss, people usually think, oh, I need a new job. Let me find a new job. And that is one of the options, but maybe not all the time the best option, the easy option, the first option. The first option is to be more inward looking and think, okay, how I can become better at who I am and what I do here today. I had clients who came to me and said, not just I want a new job, I want a completely different career because I don't like what I'm doing anymore. Like I'm waking up and I dread my day. And through the work we did, actually they realized that it's not the career the problem. They were the problem because they were not opening their mouths to be assertive, to put boundaries, to delegate better, to do their job better.
Of
And
course.
once they learn to do their job better, I'm like, oh, I can do this. This is not a problem. I don't want to change professions.
Yeah.
I don't need to change companies. I don't need to change jobs. I just had to change myself.
Mm.
But that's one of the hardest one to do.
I
It's
was
easier
gonna
to
I was
jobs.
gonna say, Irina, that is the hardest. And I think, one of my thoughts as you were even explaining that is people often jump to wanting to change bosses, change careers, change professions. Some people literally will even change their city. They will move out of, say, I need somewhere new, I need a new start. And they recognize that each boss is still experiencing the same things. Each city is still experiencing the same thing. Each relationship is still experiencing the same thing. And what I love that you mentioned is that before we could transform our lives externally, we have to look inward so that we can be the best that we can be. With somebody listening right now, what is the first step? Like, what is the first step with you looking in the mirror and saying like, hey, I need to change? Because that's a hard thing to admit.
Yeah, so this is like it's so hard. And what breaks my heart is there is a threshold between, again, people who come to me and people who come to coaching in general. They already pass a threshold. They already are aware and they identify and they want help and they are willing to do some work. So
Mhm.
I think once you are in that state, things can smoothly go easier.
Of course.
Not easy, but easier. For me, the question is, how do you get somebody to even consider or even contemplate? Or that's the biggest category. Like what you don't know, what you don't know type of
Of
category.
course. Of course.
So I don't have a magic answer, but for anybody in like maybe somebody hearing now for the first time, I'm like, oh, maybe I do need to talk with somebody. The first thing that you don't need anybody to do this activity. What I will suggest you to do, and I did this also myself, ask for feedback from people that know you. So go and get some input, get some more data points. You think about yourself that you are wonderful, amazing, or you think about yourself that you are not confident and you are not good communicator, or whatever you think about yourself. There are different ways of doing it. When I did it as a survey. I did it more formal, like survey, Google form, cheap, easy, free. Put two questions like when you think about me, what words come to mind,
Wow.
and that can be one question. Or what can I do better in the future to better myself? A couple of questions like that are inviting for people. And again, send it to your family, friends, former coworkers, current coworkers, if you feel comfortable, and just get more data points. You can do it through a text message, you can do it through email, you can do it in a phone conversation. There is no excuse not to do it. There are so many ways of doing it, and you can do all of them. For different people, might do different modalities.
Of course.
But just get that information for you to get a more realistic perspective, and for you to understand, do the people see me like, I see me, what's a pleasant surprises, like many people are like, oh, people think that I'm like this. I never thought about myself like this. So good to know.
Yeah.
And the other way around. Oh, people say this. I'm not sure. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So start there with some self-awareness, self-reflection, and then you can again make a decision. Do you like what you are hearing? Do you want to become better at some of those things?
I'm reading a book now. It's called A Man's Work or A Men's Work by Connor Beaton. And it's a phenomenal read. And earlier on in the book, it talks about how in personal development, there's Carl Jung, he's a psychiatrist. And he mentions that personal development and success is not defined by material or tangible goods or things, but it's defined in one word of wholeness. And earlier in the book, it talks about how personal development is not all about what you become. It's about what you unbecome, and this decomposing and decaying of the things that will not allow you to be able to move forward in life, to be able to become whoever you desire to become. And what you just said is so powerful because you give other people the opportunity to give you the real lens of oftentimes what we hide or what we don't see or what maybe those blinders are. One of the things that you've written about even is in the Harvard Business Review is radical career change. So I guess when we're thinking, like once we do this activity and we have these changes that we've identified and we recognize that there's a difference between job change and career change, like what advice would you give to someone that knows they need to make a change but feels afraid to make that leap?
One answer, I mean, towards small steps. That's how you do it. But even that, and I know that article in particular talks about people who want to do a radical career change. But coming back to our conversation earlier, like if I have to put on the line the degrees of steps and how hard things are or what you can do. So we talked a little about changing yourself. So that's like if we do some concentric circles, like first circle is you. Figure it out what you can do better, different, because guess what? You are taking yourself wherever you are going to go next anyway. So that work is not lost if you do that work regardless of the other concentrical circles. But start with you, figure it out. Then the question becomes, do I need to change my team? Because there are people who have very difficult managers and it's not a good fit. So I'm not saying don't do that, just do yourself. No, all the cards are on the table. But these are the questions that people need to go through. Like, is it me? Is it my team? Is it my company? So go to another company, or is it full different career? So there are different levels, and you have to, if you can, work in parallel on some of them. Like better yourself. Try to see if you can find a way with your manager. Try to see if you can find another team in the same company. Try to see if you can get a job in a different company. And also maybe you didn't want it to be an accountant. Maybe you wanted to be a real estate agent. So if you can do it in parallel, this is the best way to advance multiple options at the same time and see which of them is actually the correct option. But if you decide that the career is a problem, like I had a client who, software engineer, Microsoft, amazing job, amazing company, great benefits, great salary. Like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you just stay there? And he's like, it's too easy. It's too comfortable. That's not what I want to do. I want to do something else with the rest of my life. What is it? To figure it out, what is it? That's the hardest part. And again, based on the risk level of everybody, people can move a little faster or slower. I always recommend slower better, but there is this period that I call go broad, a period of exploration, a period of research, a period of learning. If you can sit in that period a little longer than you actually want to sit, because you don't want to sit, you want to find an answer and jump. And I'm recommending to everybody, sit there a little more, try to explore 2-3 options, try to see where the energy goes. Don't pick the first option and jump. Make an informed decision. So coming back to small steps, I'm working now with a couple of clients, one of them banking, actually both of them banking. One, like banking, wealth management, funds, investments, easy. For like it's easy. Like I can do this with my eyes closed. Like what else there is in this life to do? And now he's exploring to become a helicopter pilot. That's where he is going. He didn't make a decision. Now he's talking with other helicopter pilots to understand what actually is that job. Can you make money? How fast can you? What type? There is so much data collection that you need to make. Another client that, again, still in banking operations, is like, project management, kind of boring. I want to be in learning and development. I want to deliver trainings. I want to speak with people. That's interesting to me. So now he's exploring how can do that jump. But everybody is doing small steps. Everybody's doing, this is, if nothing else, once you decide what, and this is like, you don't know what you want at the beginning, more often it's like, I don't like where I am, but I don't know what it can be. So push yourself to find a couple of things that could be, and to go and explore them. And how you explore them is by talking with other people who do those jobs and collect more information.
That reminds me of, when I initially moved to Charlotte, I was in the entrepreneurial space, and I really was like passionate about students and education. And hey, it's Kyle. Sorry to interrupt your programming, but I got a quick culture check for you. How's your team's energy right now? I mean, literally, right now. Are people feeling inspired? Or are they just showing up? See, here's the truth. Culture doesn't change because we talk about it. It changes because we live it actively every single day. And that's what I help organizations do. Build contagious cultures that people actually want to be a part of. Through keynote talks, interactive trainings, and hands-on consulting, I help leaders transform the way their teams connect, perform, and grow. So if your culture needs a little bit of spark, let's light it up together. Visit theculturelab.org, again, theculturelab.org, or connect with me directly on LinkedIn at Kyle S. King to learn more about how we can work together. Because remember, your culture is contagious. Make it worth catching. Now let's get back to the program. I started reaching out to various teachers in my network and just kind of asking them. And I was like, I don't want to be a teacher. That's like not the life that I want. And I got into education serving as a part of their after school program, and really wanted to be able to create these amazing experiences. And then through that, I started working within JA Biz programs. And again, these experiences and connecting entrepreneurship with students. And then there was an opportunity that following year to be a dean of students, which is an assistant principal at a charter school. And I was like, I have no idea what I would need to do this. So I started reaching out. I remember I reached out to 50 people in that specific field. And I reached out to them on LinkedIn, built a network, and it was simple 15, 20-minute conversations about like, hey, what is this role? What do I need to do to be successful? And how do my skill sets essentially transfer over into this role so that I could be able to still be me in the confines of what the job description is? Fast track, I excelled in that role, became a board member. All of these different things continue to accelerate by making a leap, but by recognizing and talking to people, by understanding who I was inside and the things that I needed to grow in so that I could be able to upskill myself professionally, but then also develop personally as well. So I love what you're communicating.
Yeah, because it's in a way common knowledge, common sense. It's not easy to do, but there is no other way. Nobody invented any other shortcut. There is no other shortcut.
You have to do the work. You have to do the work. And there's somebody on there that's listening that sits on the other side. They're a leader. And on this podcast, we talk a lot about culture. It comes up every single episode. How do leaders intentionally create a culture within their organizations, though, that people are not afraid to speak out? People are not afraid to be able to share that, hey, we may want to transition, or we may want to make a lateral move to be able to explore other opportunities. How can we as leaders create these intentional spaces and environments or these conditions so that people and employees and team members can be able to feel safe?
Yeah. And I will add one more thing that they should be able to do, how employees can go and give feedback to that manager. Like, how do we reach that stage that a direct report, especially if the manager welcomes and say, hey, give it to me, I'm here, I want to hear it. I know so many direct reports who say, no, nothing, you're perfect. I'm like, oh, I'm the first perfect human in the universe. Great to know. So how do we make that relation, that level of comfort? Again, no silver bullet, a couple of ideas. And I was not a perfect manager by any means. But one thing that you said intentional. So even that, like, can you not just be random in your team, but be more intentional? Two ideas that come top of my mind. One, this is something I did with every new team I ever got in my first one-on-one with them, because the first one-on-one sets the tone. Like how they say, it's hard to make a second impression. The first impression is kind of the one that sticks. So what do you do that first one-on-one? It's pretty critical. And for anybody listening to us, okay, it's not too late. If you're 3 years into a meeting with a team, like you can still do these things. Beside listening them and their strength, ask about their strengths and development areas, ask about their aspiration, ask about their goals, ask about where they want to reach. And again, people might want to say, oh, I'm good here. I'm fine. I'm nothing. Just for them to feel like, oh, I don't want you to know that I'm looking to something else, So even there, see how open people can be. But the key in that meeting is for you to self-disclose. So for you to go and say, you know what, I'm working on a couple of things. And I know to all my teams, if any of my direct reports will ever listen to this, they can write back and say, yes, she told me that. I told them, I'm fast. I move fast. And when I do that, I do mistakes. Quality is not my thing. Speed is my thing. So you are going to see mistakes. When you see them, tell me. Because you'll help me get better. You'll get the product get better. But I will make mistakes. I already tell you. Another thing that I'm working on is emotional balance. I'm pretty passionate and I'm all in. So sometimes I need to pull back and relax. So I'm working on that. You, direct report, you are going to see it. Sometimes I'm zoom in and I will get triggered and I will get all over. Don't take it personally. It's me. I'm working on it. Not an excuse, but an explanation. And just know that I'm trying to get better at this. And if you can point it to me, it's going to be the biggest favor you can make me, because I might not be even aware that I'm doing it. So that first one-on-one is crucial for you to share something about yourself, also beside very good listening. So that is one way to set the stage. The other one, another activity that I like to do is a values exercise. So there are some free surveys online, but if you want people to what a value is, but you can ask the team as a pre-work before a team session to go and reflect about their values, and ideally send them to you in advance so you can categorize them and classify them a little. But fundamentally, have everybody in the team come and say, these are my values. So people will come and say, my top 3 values: family. Family is a top value for me. So work is not the only thing in my life. So when you see me closing the computer at 5, you know now why. Because I go home with my wife and my kids, and that's very important to me. Or I had a direct report that she said she likes harmony. So she likes things to be nice, and when she smells conflict or difficult conversation, she is running the other direction. So good to know. This became a joke in the team. Whenever we got a little more tense, we keep saying, "Oh, let's remember the team member. Like, she doesn't like conflict. Like, let's get back to harmony as soon as we can." It was more like a joke, because there is a role for conflict in teams also. But we knew things about each other. I disclosed my values. So that session, it's also very like setting the stage for what type of team do we want to be. And even this conversation, you'll notice some people have very similar values, and there are some values that are very like, let's harmony, and some other people might have competitiveness or being direct or being assertive, or so some values are like, oh, so just know if I do this, is because for me it's important. I need to remember that for you it's not the deal breaker actually. So this type of conversation early on, but again, it's never too late to set the culture intentionally, like this is the type of team I want to be here.
I appreciate you mentioning that. And there is so many complexities when we just engage with human beings in general. There's so many experiences that shape us. But one of the things that you have that is different than a lot of people that I talk to is that you've lived and worked in multiple countries. And that has provided, I'm sure, a global landscape or some global experiences that have shaped how you view leadership as well as culture. Can you talk to that a bit?
Yeah, great question. And even me with myself, I contemplated what's the answer to that question for myself, first of all, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I did this stuff. I don't know how is that useful to me. Like, was it useful to me? How it was useful? And to this particular question, my realization, again, pretty late in life, was that going in different places and have to start from scratch all the time and never knowing anybody and always building and always moving, always adjusting, made me very easy to adjust to change. So change is not a thing for me. Like when I hear people, oh, we change again. Oh, what if I lose my job? Oh, if that, I'm like, you start all over. What can you do? So I'm very relaxed to this idea of like, oh, if that happened, if that happened. Well, if what did you do last time when something happened? You'll do it again. You'll figure it out. So this created a little more flexibility in how I approach life for myself. And the amount of change that I can tolerate, it's pretty high. On the flip side on that, because again, I said I learned this pretty late in life, and I learned it because I couldn't understand why other people are not like that. So especially my team, and this is, I think when I learned this is exactly like 5, 6 years ago during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, where everybody was panicking and everybody was for different reasons and for good reasons, health reasons for sure. But I did not understand why everybody is panicking at this level. And I was like, what there is to panic about? You lose your job, you go get another job. You find something else. Like, what's the problem? I don't know what's the problem. So that was when I actually realized that my tolerance to ambiguity, to change is different, and I should pay a little more attention to other people's level of tolerance and try to meet them a little more where they are, because I think I came across a little more like, a lack of empathy probably, because for me it was like another change.
That's such a good realization. And for people listening in, there's been so many gems left in this conversation. And one of the gems that I just want to highlight that we mentioned earlier is that we can't become the best leaders, the best professionals, the best teammates until we become our best selves. And in order for us to become our best selves, what you mentioned is that it requires us to go through a revealing and an unpacking process on who we are. And even layering that even more, it requires potentially even inviting other people as a part of this unpacking and revealing process so that we can, in fact, understand what are our blind spots, where are some of the potholes, and then filling these potholes over this period of time in this process so that we can show up as our best, so that we can produce our best for the organizations that we're serving. Yeah. If you could leave leaders with one idea, like if you could leave leaders with one idea about expanding, let's say, possibilities, whether in their life or in their career, what would it be?
I would say maybe mirroring what you said. Everything starts with you. If you are not in order, nothing else can be in order. So, I mean, even today, I talked to somebody on one of clients that I talked with, and leaders sometimes, I mean, this lady literally said, "Oh, I feel guilty to take this time for myself. Like, I usually don't do that. It's all about the team. It's all about how team can grow, how team can develop, what opportunities I can find for the team. It's always about them. I never think about me." And I'm like, oh, that's a problem. You need to think about you too. Like, it's not going to be a perfect balance, but it cannot be like this. It needs to be a little more balanced, that equation. So if you as a leader pay a little more attention, more awareness, be more intentional, everybody will benefit. It's not selfish. The way I say it's good selfish. Be good selfish, because if you get better, everything around you gets better. So you're not taking away from anybody anything. You're just getting better yourself, and that will reverberate in all of your conversation and in the organization. So don't feel guilty. Like, this is I hear it all the time from my leaders. Like, I feel guilty. It's not about me. It's about them. And I don't have time for me. I'm like, oh, who's going to have time for you? Like,
I love that. And Irina, this has been such a great conversation. I believe that it reveals so much in the work that we have to do personally, the work that we have to do inwardly, as you mentioned earlier, in order for that success or that productivity or those results, those measurable results to be showcased externally. Irina, where can we find you? How can we continue to support you? And what's next for you as well?
Yeah, please everybody follow me on LinkedIn. I'm a recovering introvert, and I'm trying to find my voice. And LinkedIn is where I live this moment, and try to find my voice on LinkedIn. So please join me and try give me some feedback. Happy to have the conversations with you. And what's next for me? It's a book. I'm writing a book. It's going to take a second. Don't hold your breath. It's going to be probably it's 2 years away from having it in your own hands. But I'm in the process of finding a publishers for it. I have the infrastructure, the nuts and bolts of it, but I need to find a good publisher and put the final touches on the book. And the book is about possibility thinking. It's fundamentally about what we just talked at the beginning, is some ideas, some strategies for people to wake up in the morning having more power, empowered, more autonomy, more ownership through their work life. So that's what the book is about.
I love it. I love it. Anybody listening in, if you enjoyed this podcast just as much as I did, I want you to write a review. I want you to share it. I want you to like it. And I want you to prepare yourself for the book that is getting ready to come out. I want you to go follow Irina on her LinkedIn platforms and support her, shower her with love, and be able to do one thing. Go inward today. Understand who you are, understand what you need and where you need to grow so that you can show up as the best person, so that you can be the best leader, and so that you can be able to continue to create the most powerful impact. One of the questions that we also ask on the Contagious Culture podcast for our listeners is, what type of culture are you spreading? The energy you bring is the culture you create. Go make yours worth catching. We'll see you all next episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Contagious Culture Podcast. If this episode challenged or inspired you, hey, take a second to share it with someone who's building culture in their world. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more leaders, educators, and change makers just like yourself join the movement. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or YouTube at Kyle S. King for more tips, tools, and methodologies to be able to help you create this ecosystem of absolute excellence. Until next time, lead boldly, live intentionally, and remember, your culture is contagious. Make it worth catching.